Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're drifting into the quiet mystery of twilight storms, specifically why tornadoes often happen in the evening. It's one of nature's more curious rhythms, a question tucked between warm daylight and the hush of nightfall. Maybe your day has been long, maybe your thoughts are still buzzing, or your body's asking to let go, just for a while. You've come to the right place. How's the sky looking where you are right now? Are the clouds whispering goodnight, or still dancing with light? Does the air feel still, or is something gentle stirring? Here, you don't need to worry about the science making perfect sense. Just let it wash over you, like soft rain on a roof, or wind brushing through tall grass. If you enjoy these calming meteorology journeys, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy weather watchers find their way here. For now, you can snuggle in, let your body get comfortable. There's nothing you need to do but rest. Let go of the day. Let's begin. As the sun begins its descent, a hush settles over the land. Colors soften, shadows stretch long and slow, and in this space between day and night, something quiet begins to stir in the sky above. This is the magic hour, not just for photographers who cherish the golden hue, but for the atmosphere itself, a time of subtle change, of warmth giving way to cool, of balance shifting quietly. The air near the ground, heated all day by sunlight, now begins to cool. The surface releases its warmth like a long sigh. Above, however, the upper levels of the atmosphere may still hold on to their daytime heat, creating a gentle layering of temperatures. Meteorologists call this instability, a state where warm air rests beneath cooler air aloft. And that difference, that contrast, is the seed of something powerful. Winds, too, are changing. At the surface, the breeze may soften or even still completely. But higher above, the wind continues to sweep swiftly along. The difference in speed and direction, what we call wind shear, adds a subtle twist to the atmosphere. In the soft folds of twilight, these ingredients may begin to align. Moisture rising gently in the cooling air. Shear offering a whisper of rotation. Instability inviting the clouds to build, slowly and skyward. Sometimes, this cocktail of calm and contrast awakens rotating updrafts, mesocyclones, at the heart of strong thunderstorms. Not all of them will birth tornadoes, but some will stretch their fingers downward, searching for the earth. And yet, despite the science brewing quietly overhead, down below all might seem serene. Birdsong fades. Cicadas sing their final songs. Golden light bathes the fields and rooftops, masking the invisible currents weaving through the cooling sky. This contrast, the peaceful surface and the shifting sky, gives twilight storms their strange poetry. Tornadoes, when they form at this hour, do so not with fanfare, but as part of a larger atmospheric ballet that's already been unfolding all day long. By evening, the stage is set. Heat has built. Moisture has gathered. Winds have aligned. And now, in the soft quiet of twilight, the atmosphere decides what to do with it all. Not every sunset storm becomes severe. Often, clouds simply stretch and drift, glowing orange and purple as the day ends. But now and then, the magic hour holds more than beauty. So, if you're watching the sky at dusk and the air feels heavy, and the light seems unusually still, know that you're witnessing one of the atmosphere's most mysterious transitions. A peaceful moment, a powerful potential, the magic hour. The sun has nearly vanished now, and the air seems to hold its breath. There is a silence, almost too deep to name. Birds have quieted. Even the trees, so often swaying, stand still. It is as if the world has paused just for a moment. This is what many call the calm before the storm. And while it may feel like a pause in time, it's actually a gentle rebalancing, a quiet rearrangement of pressure and air. As daytime warmth fades, the land cools quickly. Air at the surface becomes denser, pressing gently downward. Meanwhile, higher up, warm, moist air still lingers, caught in subtle motion. The result? A hidden shift, atmospheric pressure changing ever so slightly, like the tiniest movements of a great sleeping creature. When a storm is building, especially a rotating one, you may feel this calm most keenly. There's less breeze, fewer insects humming. Even the usual sounds of evening seem to hold back. The clouds may look soft and painted, but behind them, pressure is balancing and stretching. Air begins to rise, sometimes slowly, sometimes more eagerly if the atmosphere is feeling particularly unstable. As this rising air cools, it condenses, forming clouds, then towers, and eventually tall thunderheads. And if conditions align, a special kind of thunderstorm may grow from this hush, a supercell with its own rotating heart. From the ground, it still might not seem threatening. In fact, this is the beauty and the mystery of twilight tornadoes. They often begin during moments that feel serene, but serenity here isn't emptiness. It's a quiet gathering, the wind regrouping, the sky reshaping, the pressure rearranging the furniture of the heavens. And then, softly, you might notice a change in the air, a cool draft where warmth once was, a low rustling where silence held, tiny signs that something aloft has moved. Even then, the storm's breath is distant. You may see the base of a cloud lowering slowly. Meteorologists call it a wall cloud, a sign that rotation is tightening, that inflow is strengthening. And yet, still, no rush, no sudden break, just a deepening of that earlier calm until the storm decides whether it will descend. Some nights it passes, others it becomes a whispered twist of air reaching down. But always, the calm before is more than superstition. It is the atmosphere's pause before transformation, a sacred stillness, a moment of balance, before the rhythm shifts. Let's rest here a while, in the hush of shifting pressure and still skies. There's no need to anticipate, only observe, only breathe, the calm before. As daylight fades and the sun dips below the horizon, the Earth's surface begins to cool. The heat it held all day long now releases slowly, like a warm breath softening into silence. And high above, a curious layer begins to form. This is the temperature inversion, a gentle, quiet cap where warmer air rests above cooler surface air, flipping the usual order of things. Normally, air gets cooler as you rise through the atmosphere, but here, at dusk, the layers reverse. Warmth sits above the cool, creating a lid. A wall, blanket, still and silent. Beneath that lid, the world settles. Cooler, denser air hugs the ground. Moisture gathers softly, trapped in the stillness. Scents sharpen, fresh grass, distant rain, even the faint sweetness of soil, all held close to the earth by this invisible seal. It feels peaceful, and it is. But this calm, capped state also hides energy. All day, the sun has poured warmth into the ground, and the ground, in turn, warmed the air just above it. That warmth rose, but as twilight arrives, a barrier forms. The warmer layer aloft no longer lets the heat escape so easily. It presses it downward, contains it. The result is a kind of bottling, Moisture, warmth, and light winds collect near the surface. They can't rise freely, they wait. And while the inversion persists, storms can't always grow tall. The rising air is stopped, paused, as if the atmosphere is holding its breath. But inversions don't last forever. As night deepens, or a nearby weather system nudges the balance, the cap may begin to lift, a breeze may slip in from the south, or cooler air aloft may sweep in, unsettling the layers. When that lid is gently uncapped, all the built-up warmth and moisture can finally rise. And it rises eagerly, fueling clouds, swelling storm towers, and sometimes rotation. This is why tornadoes can seem to appear suddenly in the evening, even after a calm, quiet dusk. The energy was always there, just hidden, waiting for release. From the ground, there may be no sign. The air may feel still, even cozy. But overhead, the inversion holds a story of tension and quiet transformation. Evening inversions are not dramatic. They are subtle, delicate layers of balance. And like a dream, just before waking, they mark the edge of change. So let's linger here a little longer, beneath this soft cap of warm air, and feel the stillness it brings. No urgency, no rush. Just the hush of an evening held in gentle suspension. AR, sky waiting, watching, preparing for what comes next. From the first touch of morning sun, the earth begins to absorb warmth, quietly, constantly. The sun may seem gentle in the early hours, but its energy is steady, patient, working its way into the soil, the roads, the fields, and into the air above. By midday, the surface radiates heat upward, warming the lower atmosphere, softening air molecules, making them more willing to rise. It's not dramatic, it's slow, subtle, and as the day goes on, that warmth begins to stack up like kindling. Moisture rises from lakes and trees, joining the warm air. Winds begin to shift, flowing in from nearby regions, and the sky, so blue and open, begins to store potential. We don't always feel it happening, but the atmosphere is layering ingredients: heat, humidity, lift, all guided by the quiet hand of the sun. Then, as daylight begins to fade, and evening descends with its golden light, that stored energy becomes more noticeable. Sometimes, clouds start to form in the western sky, rising slowly, glowing pink and lavender. Sometimes, the winds shift ever so slightly, southerly breezes carrying moisture, feeding the sky from below. This is how daytime warmth becomes nighttime weather. It's not just the heat of the day, it's what the heat allows. It primes the atmosphere, making it more responsive. It lifts the veil between calm and chaos, though chaos here is not something to fear. It's simply the atmosphere at work, balancing itself. In some cases, this balance tips just enough and the conditions align. Moisture near the surface, cool, dry air above, winds shifting with height, and into that mixture, a thunderstorm may bloom. If rotation is present and the winds play just right, a tornado could be born. But the story began long before sunset. It started with sunlight warming a patch of earth, stirring the air, inviting moisture upward, and creating invisible threads in the sky. So when you hear of a twilight storm or a tornado forming at night, know that it wasn't sudden. It was a day's worth of warmth, a quiet building, a soft gathering of everything needed to let the sky create. Let's rest here, in the afterglow of daylight, and honor how the sun gives shape to storms, not in anger, but in gentle power. The warmth that gave us golden light also made room for wind to dance. High above us, far above treetops, rooftops, and fields, the air is always moving. Even when the world down here feels still, the sky is whispering currents, rivers of air flowing in invisible streams. And sometimes, as the day begins to fade, these streams quietly change their course. Wind shear, that's what meteorologists call it, the change in wind speed and direction with height. But tonight, let's think of it as a dance of layers, each moving to its own rhythm, each telling the story of a shifting sky. Near the surface, the air may slow as evening falls. Trees block the breeze. Hills and houses tame the currents. The warmth that once stirred low-level winds begins to drift away. But higher up, just a little above our heads, winds may still rush along, untouched by the calm of dusk. Up there, the currents can twist, changing direction or speed as the atmosphere adjusts to night. This contrast between gentle surface breezes and faster, shifting winds aloft is what creates shear. Not a harsh kind of shear, but a soft turning, like a ribbon caught in different breezes at once. Sometimes, this wind difference adds a slow roll to the air. Not a spin, not yet, but a subtle, horizontal rotation, like a sleepy barrel of air turning quietly on its side. Now imagine that rising air, heated during the day, moist from fields and lakes, starts to push upward into that rotating layer. It lifts that horizontal roll, tilts it upright, and gently, a column of turning air begins to form. This is the beginning of rotation, a whisper of a twist, a soft, invisible spiral waiting to grow. Most evenings, this delicate balance of winds never goes further. The shear is present, but the ingredients don't quite align. The sky stays quiet, but other times, especially in twilight when the atmosphere is shifting, the winds change just enough to allow that spiral to stretch, to become a slow, rising twist. If other conditions agree, if the atmosphere is moist and unstable, if a storm cloud is strong and tall, then that gentle twist may become something more. Not fierce, not fast, just quietly determined. Air, slowly winding around itself, like a soft braid forming in the sky. And from this turning, a storm may be born that holds a rotating heart. A mesocyclone, hidden within a thundercloud, nurtured by the graceful bend of wind shear. So, when the wind changes its mind, as it often does at dusk, it's not a warning. It's a story, a conversation between layers, a sky rearranging its flow. Let's listen to it. Let's follow the soft, unseen dance of currents overhead. Not to chase storms, but to understand the beauty in how air turns, how the sky reshapes itself as day slips into night. A slow twist, a quiet shift, the hush of shear. Sometimes the sky tricks us. A thunderstorm builds through the afternoon, towering, proud, electric. Then, as evening falls, it seems to fade. The clouds thin, the rumbles soften, the storm looks tired, ready to sleep like the day itself. But just when it appears to vanish, a change begins. This is the strange, dreamy moment when some storms die, and yet, somehow, are reborn. Not as rain clouds or gusts, but as quiet whirlwinds, as tornadoes born from the breath of what came before. Let's float into that mystery together. When a thunderstorm begins to weaken, it often leaves behind a trail of cool air at the surface. This is called an outflow, air pushed downward by rain and descending currents, spreading out along the ground like a sigh. This cool air flows outward, brushing the land, while overhead, the atmosphere still holds warmth, especially in the evening, when residual heat from the day lingers just above. The boundary where that cool outflow meets the warm, moist evening air can become a spark. Not of fire, but of gentle motion, winds meet, temperatures clash softly, and in that thin boundary, rotation may begin to stir again. The fading storm may send one final updraft into this boundary. And if the winds have just the right curve, if the atmosphere is still gently unstable, a spiral may stretch itself from the fading remains of a storm into something new. A quiet spin, a slender funnel, a rebirth. This is how some nighttime tornadoes form, not in the roar of a storm's peak, but in its aftermath, in the calm, in the cooling, in the remnants. From a distance, you might see nothing more than a darkened cloud base, but inside, the last breath of the storm is mixing with the twilight sky, pulling, twisting, forming. It is a reminder that the atmosphere is always in motion. Even when a storm seems done, its influence lingers, like an echo finding new shape. This isn't a moment of fear, it's a moment of transformation. The sky letting go of one rhythm and gently stepping into another. And so we float here, between endings and beginnings, between rain that has fallen and winds yet to come. Let's stay a while in that soft space, the in-between, where old storms gently hand off their energy to new quiet spirals. Not every storm dies. Some just change form, and in that change, a twister may be born. As dusk deepens and the colors of sunset melt into shadow, something subtle begins to stir in the atmosphere. Not loud, not sudden, but sure and strong. A wind begins to rise, not at the surface where grasses lie still, but just above, where trees no longer reach. This is the low-level jet, a nighttime wind current, smooth and swift, awakening quietly after sunset like a traveler taking to the road. During the day, friction from the Earth's surface, hills, buildings, forests, slows the lower atmosphere. Air tumbles, swirls, resists the urge to run. But when night falls and the surface cools and settles, that friction softens. The winds above are suddenly freer, able to move with fewer interruptions. And so, a current forms. It's not like the chaotic gusts of a summer storm. This jet glades. It flows, quietly but powerfully, just a few thousand feet above the ground. Sometimes it rushes from the south across wide plains, bringing warmth and moisture from the Gulf. Other times, it angles differently, responding to pressure systems far away. But always, it moves in the dark, a nighttime expressway in the sky. This current isn't just graceful, it plays an important role in shaping the weather below. The low-level jet can feed storms. Its fast-moving stream of air brings in moisture, fueling the clouds from underneath. And its speed, stronger than the winds at ground level, creates that key ingredient we've spoken of before, wind shear. When air below moves slowly, and air just above races ahead, the atmosphere can twist. A soft corkscrew begins to take shape, rotation seeded by invisible differences in flow. This rotation doesn't guarantee a tornado, but it opens the door. It builds a scaffold that storms can climb. And so, in the hours after sunset, when the surface is calm, when the grass is still, and the breeze has gone quiet, the low-level jet is often at its strongest, rushing silently above, feeding the night. From the ground, we might not even notice. There's no roaring, no sweeping gusts, just a soft, persistent current, gliding out of reach. But if you could float gently into the sky, just high enough to meet it, you'd feel its purpose, a stream of momentum, guiding moisture northward, stirring the sleeping air, and whispering to any storm that lingers. Wake, grow, rotate, and some do. So let's rest in this invisible movement, this quiet current above the earth. Let it remind us that even stillness holds motion, and even silence carries strength. The low-level jet, a midnight wind whispering through the sky. As the sun sets and the land begins to exhale its heat, the air becomes thicker, softer, more tender to the touch. And if you've ever stepped outside on a summer night, you've felt it, that warm, moist heaviness that clings to your skin and rests on your breath. This is humidity's quiet rain, and tonight we follow its path into the sky. Moisture doesn't disappear with the light. It lingers, it floats, rising slowly through layers of cooling air. Near the surface, warm, humid air hugs the ground, saturated from a day of sun-soaked fields and shimmering pavement. Above it, cooler, drier layers wait, a quiet ladder of contrast. And in that gentle clash of temperatures, a canvas is created. The amount of moisture the air can hold depends on temperature. Warm air holds more, cooler air holds less. So, when warm, moist air begins to rise into a cooler layer, it starts to condense. Not suddenly, not loudly, but like a breath fogging a mirror. Clouds begin to form, not in big, crashing towers just yet, but in soft puffs, wisps of condensation floating up from the invisible dew. The dew point, that quiet threshold where moisture condenses, plays a key role in this transformation. If the surface temperature drops close to the dew point, fog may form. If rising air reaches that threshold higher up, clouds appear, clouds that may grow, spin, and eventually swirl. When dew points remain high into the evening, as they often do on warm, sticky nights, the stage is quietly set. That moisture, waiting patiently all day, is now ready to rise. And if it finds lift, if it's drawn upward by an outflow boundary or storm breath wind, it can sculpt the sky. In some regions, you may see it take shape as a humid haze, veiling the moonlight, casting halos around distant porch lights. A softness, both seen and felt. And sometimes, when the atmosphere is feeling playful, this moist air may rise with enough spin and enough force to shape something more. Curled clouds, rotating updrafts, even, perhaps, a funnel slipping down. All from the silent dance of dew point and temperature, moisture and motion. So let's float here, between layers. Let's feel the thick sweetness of humid air as it rises into the cooler dark. Let's marvel at how invisible breath becomes visible sky. There is no rush here, only movement, only change. The evening dew, the humid haze, the moisture that sculpts the night. As the last traces of sunlight melt into dusk, the atmosphere begins to shift, quietly, deliberately, like a dancer changing form between movements. And above us, the storms respond. The heat of the day has done its part, warming the surface, lifting air, fueling the growth of afternoon thunderstorms. But now the light is fading, and yet, instead of shrinking, some storms stretch higher still. This is one of the atmosphere's quiet wonders. When night begins to fall, certain storms, particularly the strong ones, don't settle. They organize, they deepen, they rise. Part of this has to do with cooling at the surface. As the land gives up its warmth, the lowest layer of air becomes more stable, calmer, heavier. But just above that layer, conditions may become more favorable for growth. Wind shear increases as the low-level jet awakens, and the difference between surface winds and upper-level flow becomes more pronounced. This contrast helps storms rotate and strengthen. Meanwhile, the absence of surface heating reduces scattered, weaker convection. Only the strongest storms remain, and with less atmospheric clutter, they stand tall and alone. These towering giants often grow more structured after sunset. Their updrafts, already powerful, become more focused, their shapes more defined. They begin to exhibit features meteorologists know well, but seen through twilight eyes, they resemble something from a dream. Anvils spread wide, catching the last amber hues of sunset before turning silver beneath a rising moon. Wall clouds descend, rotating slowly in the deepening blue, and behind the curtain of rain, lightning pulses like a heartbeat, soft, distant, steady. This is not chaos. It is quiet choreography, an evolution brought on not by drama, but by timing, by the subtle changes that come with evening. Storm structure is never static. It breathes, it adjusts, and at night, the balance of ingredients often allows a storm to take its most mature form. The cool surface air helps define the inflow, a smooth, concentrated stream of warm, moist air drawn into the storm. This clarity enhances the storm's organization, making it more efficient, more self-sustaining. It's almost as if the storm, like a performer, has waited for the audience to settle before beginning its most graceful act. And so, under twilight skies, storms often become their most intricate selves. From afar, they look like cathedrals of cloud, lit from within by occasional flashes, their spires stretching far beyond the eye. And yet, the world below may remain calm. The air is still. Crickets resume their gentle song, and the storm above continues, quietly adjusting its shape in the soft night air. So, let's stay here a while, watching how the sky changes its form, not with fury, but with focus. Evening doesn't end the story, it deepens it. Storms, like stories, grow more layered as the light fades, more sculpted, more still. There are storms, and then there are supercells. Most clouds drift, some grow, but supercells spin, not with wildness, but with structure, grace, and quiet strength. Tonight, we float beside one, a mature supercell humming softly beneath the stars. These powerful storms don't sleep. Even after sunset, they continue to glide across the plains, a force of rotation and rhythm, lit by moonlight and the occasional flicker of internal lightning. To be a supercell, a storm must contain a mesocyclone, a rotating updraft, like a spiral staircase rising within the cloud. This rotation helps the storm organize itself, separating rain from inflow, balancing updraft and downdraft, and sustaining its energy far longer than most other storms. By night, the supercell becomes a quiet cathedral in the sky. Its anvil spreads wide and smooth, catching the moonlight like snow on a vast rooftop. Its base, dark and low, may carry a gentle, curling wall cloud, a sign of focus and symmetry. Within, the rotation persists, not as a roar, but as a soft winding, air turning within itself, gracefully. And around it, the atmosphere listens. The low-level jet may be feeding it from below, guiding in warm, moist air from distant places. The cooler upper layers offer contrast, helping the storm stretch skyward with ease. It is not angry. It is not chaotic. It is awake, alive in the night, carving patterns into the clouds. Some supercells continue for hours after dark, their lifespans far longer than ordinary storms. They can cycle, rebuild, and sometimes even birth new rotations within themselves. And though they may produce hail or even a tornado, tonight we focus not on their force, but on their beauty, their balance, their quiet persistence. From the ground you might hear nothing, only a still breeze, only the gentle hum of insects, unaware. But look up, and you may see the moon haloed by cirrus tendrils, delicate traces of the storm's breath. You may glimpse the outline of a distant updraft, glowing faintly with internal flashes. And if you're close enough, you might feel a change in the air, a subtle draw, as if the sky is inhaling. The supercell is not only a storm, it's a system in motion, a dialogue between forces, speaking the language of wind, lift, and rotation. It carries its own environment, shaped by physics, but born of atmosphere's most poetic moments. So, let's float beside it, quietly, respectfully, not fearing what it is, but marveling at how such strength can exist in silence. A supercell under stars, a dream turning slowly through the night. Sometimes, when the world feels still and evening settles in, you might not notice the air rising around you, but the sky is always in motion, and in the soft shift from day to night, a quiet tilt begins to take shape. The atmosphere isn't flat, not really. It breathes and bends, shaped by warmth, by pressure, by time. During the day, the sun heats the surface unevenly. Valleys warm more slowly than hills. Fields may grow hotter than forests. Lakes and rivers hold their cool, while pavement gathers heat. And all of this, the patchwork of warming, creates subtle gradients in temperature. By evening, those differences become more important. As the surface begins to cool, the warmer spots linger, like little pools of heat among shadows. And it is from these warm pockets that the air begins to rise. Air that is warmer than its surroundings becomes lighter. It wants to ascend. And when that warm air sits beside cooler, heavier air, a gentle slope forms. Not one we can see, but one the atmosphere can feel. This is the tilt, a quiet lean in the sky's structure, nudging rising air just slightly eastward or northward, depending on the flow, depending on the time. It is not dramatic. It's not like wind gusts or lightning bolts. It's more like a bow, a gesture from the sky to say, you may go higher now. This tilt helps storms begin. It gives lift to what was only bubbling. It adds height to clouds that might otherwise flatten. In the evening, this tilt becomes more noticeable. As surface cooling slows down the turbulence near the ground, warm air pockets become more distinct. And when these pockets rise, they do so into an atmosphere that's beginning to smooth out, where motion flows in longer, steadier streams. Think of it like layers of honey being gently poured. The surface layer is thick and slow, but higher up it glides more easily. Warm air rising into those upper layers finds less resistance and more room to stretch. This is how evening storms often gain height. Their base may remain low, but their towers tilt skyward, leaning with the winds aloft, following the invisible slope carved by temperature and time. Even without storms, this tilt shapes the atmosphere's breath. It influences how clouds drift, how fog pools in valleys, how nocturnal breezes bend around hills and towns. So if you ever feel the air shift at dusk, if the wind quiets, and then a breeze returns from a slightly different direction, you may be feeling that gentle tilt. It's a signal that the day's warmth is rearranging itself, quietly releasing what it held. Let's stay here a moment, in the slanted light, in the tilted sky, and let the softness of that rising warmth guide our thoughts upward. No rush, no storm, just movement, subtle, purposeful, peaceful, the gentle tilt of the atmosphere, a soft invitation to rise. There is a secret in the sky, a layer nearly invisible that holds the day's storms at bay. This is the cap, a lid of warm air aloft, resting above cooler air near the surface. And during much of the day, it keeps things quiet. Even as heat builds below, even as moisture gathers, this cap resists the rise of air. It presses downward gently, discouraging clouds from growing too tall, too quickly. But the cap isn't permanent. It is delicate, a balancing act between temperatures. And as evening falls, that balance begins to shift. The ground, once sun-soaked and warm, begins to cool. Air near the surface becomes heavier, a little calmer, a little slower to rise. But sometimes, even in this cooling, a subtle change occurs above. Perhaps a breeze brings in cooler air aloft. Perhaps the cap itself, thinned by earlier storms or fading sunlight, begins to weaken. And then, quietly, almost imperceptibly, the lid breaks. It doesn't shatter. It yields. It releases what has been building below. Warm, moist air rises, slowly at first, then more confidently. Clouds stretch upward. A tower forms. This is the moment when storms begin to breathe freely, when what was once capped is now uncapped, when the atmosphere says, now is the time. Sometimes the release is soft, a few drifting clouds, a brief evening shower. Other times it's more dramatic, a thunderstorm, born from the sudden rush upward, a column of air rising fast, drawing in wind, creating rotation. But here, in our quiet space together, we observe the moment just before, the final seconds of resistance, the hush before the climb. This moment is filled with potential. You can feel it in the weight of the air. You can sense it in the stillness of leaves. And then a whisper of lift, a breath, and the cap gives way. It is a release not just of warmth, but of rhythm, the atmosphere moving from one state to another, from holding to rising, from silence to motion. So let's drift here, in that in-between, watching the lid grow thin, feeling the first hints of ascent. We don't need to rush the breakthrough. It will happen on its own. The atmosphere always knows when it's time to rise. Let go of tension, let go of thought, and let yourself float upward with the air that's finally free. This is the twilight cap, and this is its gentle surrender. As the sky deepens into twilight, older storms begin to loosen their grip on the land. Rain softens, lightning flickers less often, and clouds drift into memory. But even as they fade, these storms leave something behind, a parting breath. It moves quietly across the surface. A sheet of cool air pushed out ahead of the storm, fanned by the downdrafts that once fueled rain and wind. This is called an outflow boundary, a hidden edge, where cooled storm air meets the warmer, untouched atmosphere nearby. It's not a line you can always see, but the sky knows it's there. And in the soft hours of evening, these outflows paint the atmosphere like brush strokes, delicate and wide, moving across the landscape with quiet grace. If you're standing outside when one passes, you might feel a sudden, refreshing breeze, a gentle wind that carries a whisper of rain, even if the storm is already far away. The air shifts, the temperature dips, the wind changes direction, and sometimes that subtle shift becomes the spark for something new. As the cool outflow glides across the ground, it lifts the warm, moist air in its path. This lifting, gentle but focused, can awaken the atmosphere, especially if the air is unstable and ready to rise. Clouds begin to form again, bubbling quietly above the boundary. And if the winds are just right, if they curve and stretch with height, a new storm may grow. Not from the chaos of midday heat, but from the smooth motion of an evening breath. In some cases, this boundary becomes the cradle of rotation. Where winds converge, air can begin to turn. And with enough support from the sky above, that rotation may organize into a supercell, and perhaps, softly, into a tornado. It's a beautiful paradox, a storm fading in the distance, birthing the conditions for another to form, like a painter stepping back from one stroke, only to let the brush guide the next. Outflow boundaries don't just mark the end, they trace the beginning of a new possibility. Meteorologists sometimes call them mini cold fronts, but here we'll think of them as evening brushstrokes, broad and quiet, reshaping the air beneath fading light. They are reminders that even when storms weaken, the atmosphere is still listening, still responding, still moving. So, if you feel that soft wind at dusk, a breath that arrives before the stars, know that it might be the touch of a distant storm, sketching something new into the sky. Let's drift with it. Let's follow its quiet edge and imagine how the air gently lifts, how clouds unfurl like watercolor. No urgency, just motion, just potential. The outflow boundary, a gentle brush at twilight's edge. Beneath the vast, shadowed canopy of night, one of the sky's most elegant dances begins. The thunderstorm has matured now, its structure clean and balanced, its motion smooth and purposeful. And within it, a quiet, powerful spiral turns. This is the mesocyclone, the rotating heart of the supercell, a graceful, mid-level vortex that turns not with violence, but with deep rhythm and control. It is here, in this softly spinning column of air, that tornadoes often begin. But tonight, we are not rushing toward the funnel. We are lingering inside the spiral, watching the mesocyclone dance. As night deepens, the atmosphere begins to smooth. Turbulence lessens. Winds shift and stretch more cleanly with height. And in this steadier environment, the mesocyclone may strengthen, more balanced now, less disturbed by daytime chaos. It turns in quiet circles, drawing air inward and upward, not as a sudden spin, but as a deep, slow winding, like a ribbon coiling through soft hands. The low-level jet may be feeding it from below, offering a steady stream of warm, moist air. Above, drier air aloft helps enhance the storm's structure, creating a pocket of contrast, a perfect playground for rotation. You may never see the mesocyclone directly. It hides within the storm's structure, a secret engine wrapped in cloud. But radar sees it. And sometimes, when lightning pulses just right, you can glimpse the curved bands it sculpts, arches of cloud subtly circling the storm's core. At night, the mesocyclone becomes even more majestic. With less interference, it can persist for hours, carving gentle spirals in the sky as it glides beneath the stars. It is not always destined to drop a tornado. Many mesocyclones simply turn, quietly, beautifully, without ever reaching toward the ground. But when conditions align, when the air below is rich with moisture, and the boundary layer supports a focused inflow, the spiral may tighten. It may extend downward, gathering breath and take on new form. Still, in this moment, this midnight hour, we are content to watch the rotation itself, to feel the softness of circular motion within a vast and sleeping sky. Like a lullaby sung by the wind, the mesocyclone turns, not to threaten, but to remind us of the beauty in balance. Let's float alongside it now, our thoughts turning gently with its flow, spiraling slowly into rest. The mesocyclone, a midnight dancer in the clouds, moving with purpose, moving with grace. There are places on Earth where the sky feels especially wide, where the land stretches out in every direction, flat and open, like a canvas waiting for the atmosphere to paint its evening story. These are the plains, and in the soft hours of dusk, they begin to glow. Golden light spills across fields of wheat and wild grass, and the last warmth of the sun lingers, even as long shadows stretch across the ground. It is in places like this, Tornado Alley and beyond, where the ingredients for evening twisters often come together. Not in chaos, but in quiet orchestration, the plains are special. They offer space, not just for us to see the sky, but for the sky to express itself fully. Here, warm, moist air often flows northward from the Gulf, sliding across the flat terrain with little resistance. Above it, dry air from the high deserts and plateaus may sweep in, cooler, lighter, ready to lift. And aloft, the jet stream curves and stretches, guiding upper-level winds with just enough shear to encourage rotation. This meeting of different air masses, warm and cool, moist and dry, creates a beautiful tension, a balance of opposites that stirs the air into motion. By day, the sun stokes this energy quietly. It heats the ground, it warms the air, it encourages upward motion. But by evening, that energy is ready. And as the sun dips low, storms begin to take shape. Some may already be forming, clouds rising like slow fountains into the sky, casting long shadows in the amber light. Others may bloom as the cap weakens, the warm lid aloft finally yielding to the day's persistence. And as they rise, they roar, not suddenly, but steadily, their thunder rolling across the plains like distant drums, their echoes dancing among the hills and silos. This is why the plains glow and roar at dusk, because the stage has been set all day long, and now, as the light fades, the sky begins its grand performance. The contrast is striking, the softness of golden hour fields below, and the towering, powerful forms above. Sometimes, the clouds catch the last rays of sunlight and burn with colour, pinks, oranges, deep lavenders. Other times, the storms form quickly, darkening the horizon in silhouette, as if night has arrived early in just one place. Evening storms over the plains are not always severe. Sometimes they float by with only distant rumblings. But when all the ingredients align, these flatlands become a cradle for rotation. Supercells may form, tornadoes may dip and disappear again, silent and swift. But for now, we are not chasing, we are simply observing. Floating softly over the wheat, letting the rhythm of rising air and distant thunder lull us deeper into rest. The plains don't just produce weather, they sing with it. And at dusk, their song is warmth and wind, glow and rumble. Let's lie back in the tall grass of thought and watch the sky begin to turn. The glow, the roar, the plains at dusk. As the sun sinks low, a few quiet figures begin to move across the land. They're not rushing, they're listening, they're reading the wind. These are the storm chasers, drawn not to danger, but to wonder. And in the dimming light, they follow the sky's slow unfolding. Their silhouettes stretch long across the prairie roads, vehicles parked on gravel shoulders, tripods unfolding, eyes fixed on towering clouds. They don't chase chaos, they trace patterns, subtle cues in the clouds, hints of rotation, shadows curling at the edge of a lowering base. Many rely on radar, a glowing screen inside the car, its pulses painting pictures of movement and moisture, turning the invisible into something readable. Others still listen to the wind, to the feel of it on their skin, to the scent of distant rain carried on an updraft, and always they move gently, like dancers following the lead of the sky. In the evening, storm structure becomes clearer. Lightning backlights the clouds. The mesocyclone, if it's there, may be silhouetted in perfect profile. It's a time of beauty, a time when the sky reveals its architecture against a canvas of fading light. Some chasers watch from afar, content to sit on the hood of a car, feet in the grass, watching a supercell glide across the horizon like a ship at sea. Others follow more closely, drifting with the storm, reading the signs. But even here, there is peace. Because chasing at dusk is not about adrenaline, it's about awe, and about the silence between the thunder. For many, it's a ritual, a seasonal return to the places where earth meets sky, to gravel roads and open fields, to warm evening winds and the steady beat of radar. And in that dimming light, every turn of the cloud feels like a message, a story being told in moisture and motion. Some chasers capture it in photographs, lightning arcing through amber clouds. Others simply watch, letting the moment be enough. From a distance, the chase looks like motion, but from within, it feels like stillness, like being exactly where the sky has asked you to be. So, tonight, we sit beside them, not in haste, but in reverence. We listen to the hum of tires on quiet roads. We watch the flicker of distant towers. We feel the pull of something bigger than ourselves, and we rest in the company of those who follow the sky not for spectacle, but for love. Storm chasers in the dimming light, silhouetted against a breathing sky, guided by lightning and moved by wonder. In the golden hours of the afternoon, when the sun begins to lean westward, you might look up and see them, small, puffy clouds drifting lazily across the sky. Cumulus clouds. They seem harmless, soft, like cotton tufts pulled gently apart, hovering above pastures, rooftops, and sleepy highways. They are friendly, familiar, and yet some of them are holding a secret, because not all cumulus clouds stay small. Some begin to grow, slowly at first, almost shyly, reaching upward as the air beneath them lifts. This lifting begins subtly. The warmth of the day, stored in the ground, continues to release upward into the air. That warm air rises, carrying with it moisture gathered from fields, rivers, and breathing earth. As it rises, it cools, and when it cools enough, the moisture condenses, forming the soft base of a cumulus cloud. Most of these clouds drift and dissolve, never growing large, but sometimes one begins to change. It thickens, darkens slightly beneath. Its edges become more defined, and it rises, slowly, steadily, into the quiet sky. These are the first clues. Meteorologists call it cumulus congestus, a stage where the cloud becomes vertically developed. It's still not a thunderstorm, but it's showing signs. Its top may begin to billow outward, pushing into drier air above, forming a soft cauliflower shape. And if wind shear is present, that gentle difference in wind speed and direction with height, the growing cloud may begin to tilt ever so slightly. It begins to lean with the wind, like a dancer poised for motion. The sun, still shining low, casts these growing clouds in warm tones. Their tops glow gold and peach, while their bases remain cool and shaded. It's a breathtaking contrast, innocence and potential in the same sky. And as evening draws near, the conditions begin to favor more than beauty. The cap may begin to weaken. The air above may cool just enough. And suddenly, the cumulus that was just a cloud begins to surge upward, higher and higher, stretching into the troposphere. It's no longer just decoration. It's become a storm in the making. But tonight, we're not rushing into thunder. We're staying here, in the softness of first signs, in the subtle swell of a cloud finding its momentum. This moment, when a cumulus rises quietly at sunset, is filled with both peace and promise. It reminds us that change often starts gently, that even the most powerful storms begin as humble shapes on the horizon. So, as you rest tonight, imagine those clouds drifting slowly above you, some playful, some growing, all touched by the warmth of the day and the hush of coming night. Feel the air lifting, feel the clues arriving, and know that the sky always speaks softly before it speaks loudly. When thunder rolls through the afternoon, it often blends into the bustle of the day, its background noise, distant and brief. But at twilight, when the light fades and the world grows still, thunder begins to sound different, deeper, closer, more resonant. It's as if the atmosphere itself is listening more carefully, as if the land has quieted just enough to let thunder speak in full. When a storm rumbles at sunset, it doesn't just echo, it lingers. The sound travels longer through the cooling air, bouncing gently between the clouds and the ground. With fewer daytime thermals to disrupt it, the sound smooths out, low, rolling, and soft around the edges. Sometimes it begins as a faint murmur, a sound just at the edge of awareness, and then it builds, not sharply, but steadily, a long, slow drum roll across the sky. You may hear it stretch out for several seconds, growing, swelling, and then slowly dissolving into the hush. It's not frightening, it's full-bodied, like a cello in a quiet room. In the distance, lightning may flicker, its flash illuminating the undersides of clouds. But it's the thunder you feel most. In your chest, in your breath, in the floorboards and the earth. Sometimes it comes in patterns, a steady rhythm, pulsing gently with each charge of the sky. Other times, it arrives alone, a solitary echo wandering through twilight. As night deepens, thunder becomes even softer, even more stretched, and in places like the plains, it can travel for miles, whispering from storms you can no longer see. Children pause their play, birds fall silent, even the trees seem to wait. The echo wraps around houses and hills, around the folds of the land, and then fades. What's left is a sense of presence, as if the storm is near, but not intrusive, as if the sky is offering a lullaby instead of a warning. Some of the most memorable nights begin with this kind of thunder, a low, thoughtful voice overhead, telling stories only the clouds can hear. So tonight, we listen, not for meaning, but for feeling. We let the thunder roll through us, not as alarm, but as music. Each echo a heartbeat of the sky, each rumble a breath of the atmosphere, deep, gentle, unfolding. Let's rest inside the sound and drift deeper with each twilight note. Thunder's twilight echo, not a call to wake, but an invitation to dream. As day leans into night and the sun begins to lower itself behind the curve of the earth, the clouds begin to stretch, and some stretch farther than others. The great anvils of towering supercells fan outward into the twilight, broad, flat, and glowing at the edges like celestial wings. These are not ordinary clouds. They are the crowns of powerful storms, formed when air rising at incredible speed meets the stable layers above and spreads out, unable to rise further. The result is an anvil, a vast, high-reaching canopy that floats in the upper atmosphere, spreading for miles beyond the storm's core. But what happens when these anvils catch the light at sunset is nothing short of art. They begin to cast shadows, long, geometric shapes that stretch across the sky, cutting lines into the colors of dusk. Sometimes, these shadows look like beams, dark rays diverging upward or outward from the setting sun. Meteorologists call them crepuscular rays, though the word feels too mechanical for something so dreamlike. Other times, the shadow appears in reverse, light blocked not below, but above, creating soft stripes of deep blue between warm golden clouds. It's the sky playing with shape and space, a quiet geometry drawn not in chalk or ink, but in light and vapor. And we, lying beneath, watch these shapes drift and stretch. Children sometimes ask if the sky is folded, if those beams are where the sky bends. And though the science tells us it's scattering, angle, perspective, it's hard not to see it as something more. As the anvil continues to spread, its base remains smooth and soft, but its edges begin to ripple, thin wisps feathering outward, sometimes forming mammatus clouds, gentle pouches that dangle beneath, like the sky exhaling slowly through silk. In the fading light, these features take on a kind of sculpture, not sharp, but deliberate, not loud, but present. The sunset paints them in layers, amber on top, lavender below, with pockets of grey shadow deepening into the night. The storm may be far away. It may be quiet now, but its presence lingers in these shapes, in this quiet celestial artwork. And we, beneath our blankets, or beneath the open sky, can trace the lines, as if drawing on glass, as if connecting dots across dimensions. Anvil shadows are like bedtime illustrations, gentle patterns that guide the mind into story. Their stillness calms, their vastness comforts. They remind us how large the sky is, how soft even the most powerful storms can appear, how beauty arrives not just in silence, but in symmetry. Let the angles soften, let the shadows fall gently across your thoughts, and let the sky fold in around you, just like the pages of a dream. The storm is deep into its life now, tall, mature, wrapped in darkness, its outer edges hidden in the night, its voice softened into distant rumbles. But within, there is light, lightning, not the sharp forks of midday storms, but something gentler, flashes from deep inside, flickering, pulsing, breathing light. At night, lightning becomes a lantern. It reveals the inner architecture of the storm, a fleeting glimpse of what lies beneath the clouded surface. You may see a curtain of rain briefly lit, or the backbone of a towering updraft, outlined in a split second of glow. Sometimes, the whole sky flashes, not once, but again and again, like a heartbeat. This is in-cloud lightning, where electrical charges dance within the body of the storm, never quite touching the ground. It pulses softly, as if the storm itself is thinking. Each flash illuminates a new corner, a curved band of inflow, a pocket of turbulent air, a rounded wall cloud hidden just seconds before. And though it happens quickly, it feels slow. The light moves like a tide, rising and falling, revealing and hiding. You don't need to name the features to feel them. You don't need to map the motion to know it. You just watch and feel the rhythm. Some flashes are sharp and bright, casting sudden shadows across the room. Others are soft and distant, glowing through the window, like a lantern swinging in fog. Even the silence between them matters. It gives the storm room to breathe. It lets the mind drift gently between each light. And when the thunder follows, rolling, stretching through the quiet night, it completes the feeling. This is not a storm to fear. This is a storm at rest, lit from within, telling its story in flashes. For those who watch closely, lightning becomes a translator, a way to see the hidden structure, to understand what the clouds are building and unbuilding. Meteorologists often use lightning to gauge the health of a storm. Frequent flashes can mean the storm is still strong. Long pauses might suggest it's weakening, but here In the hush of bedtime, we don't measure. We witness. We let the sky reveal itself, one quiet flicker at a time. So, as you lie beneath the blankets, let your mind mirror the storm. Let each thought rise and glow, then gently fade again. Lightning doesn't disrupt the night. It sketches it. It outlines what we cannot see, then lets the dark return. Let that soft light carry you. Let it flicker behind your eyes and guide you deeper into dreams. The night has a core, and sometimes it shines. After the lightning fades, after the last drops of rain touch the soil, something lingers in the air, a scent, sharp, earthy, clean, yet somehow electric. It drifts in gently through the screen door, or settles across an open field like the sky's exhale after a long, stormy breath. Tonight, we breathe it in slowly, the scent of ozone. This distinctive smell isn't just poetic, it's real. Ozone, a form of oxygen, is created when lightning passes through the air. The bolt splits molecules apart for just a moment, and some rejoin in a new way, 3 oxygen atoms instead of 2. O3. Most ozone lives far above us in the stratosphere, protecting us from the sun's harsher rays. But down here, at the surface, a little can form after a storm, just enough to sense. It's often described as sweet or sharp, like chlorine, like fresh laundry, like the edge of something newly cleansed. But it's more than scent. It's feeling. It's atmosphere. It's the signal that something powerful has passed, and something still, something sacred, has been left behind. As night settles in and the wind calms, ozone lingers longer. There's no midday heat to lift it away, no bustling breeze to scatter it. It pools in low places, rides the mist through the trees and rests gently above wet pavement, where earlier thunder rolled and rain tapped on windows. And it mixes with other smells too. Damp soil, green leaves, a hint of smoke far away. Together, they create a kind of twilight perfume. One you can't bottle, one that only exists in the moment after the storm. Sometimes, after a long summer day, the first flash of lightning awakens the scent even before the rain begins. You can smell the coming shift. You can feel it stir in the back of your throat, a faint signal that the sky is changing shape. This sensory moment, so fleeting, so small, is one of the most intimate touches between atmosphere and body. A moment where science and sensation become one. So tonight, we sit still. We let the air find us. We inhale the memory of thunder, of electricity spent, of clouds that once sparked and spun, but now drift into deeper quiet. It's not about naming every chemical. It's not about tracing every atom. It's about noticing, about welcoming the breath of the sky as it settles back into peace. That scent is the storm's goodbye, a whisper that says, I was here, I've passed, and now you may rest. Let it drift through your window. Let it settle softly in your mind. The scent of a storm, the trace of ozone in the night. A sky exhaled. When the sun is high, humidity often rises and disappears again in waves. Lifted, stirred, broken up by breezes and heat. But after sunset, when the winds slow and the air loses its daily rhythm, moisture settles. It doesn't vanish. It doesn't rise away. It stays, and it hangs like a blanket, heavy, soft, and everywhere at once. You feel it in your skin, that gentle cling of the air, as if the world is wrapped in warm breath. Humidity, in its evening form, isn't harsh. It's not the smothering weight of a heatwave at midday. It's slower, sleepier, still. It wraps itself around trees and rooftops, across tall grasses and quiet lakes, and it pools in the folds of valleys, where coolness collects like dew. During the day, the sun lifts moisture upward, evaporation, convection, motion. But at night, the stirring slows. There's no more rising, only resting, and so the moisture lingers low. It softens the edges of sound. It muffles footsteps on the porch. It carries the scent of soil and leaves, of flowers that only open after dark. Sometimes you can see it, a fine mist across a meadow, a shimmer in the glow of a streetlight, the breath of the earth made visible. High dew points, the measure of moisture in the air, hold steady in the evening. When the temperature cools just enough to meet them, fog may form. Clouds may hug the ground. The atmosphere feels close, not threatening, but intimate. It's the kind of closeness that invites stillness. That makes you want to sit quietly on the porch, or lie back in the grass and let the air hold you. Meteorologically, this moisture helps fuel overnight storms. If the air rises again, gently, slowly, this humidity can feed the clouds. But here, in our soft space, we don't chase storms. We simply drift through the atmosphere that holds them, through the haze, through the velvet warmth of night, through the lull of suspended water in air, and just as a blanket quiets a restless child, this evening humidity settles the land. So let it rest upon you. Let it ease your limbs and calm your thoughts. There's nothing you need to resist. Only this moment. Only this blanket of air. Only the hush that moisture brings. Humidity at night doesn't ask for action. It asks for presence. So breathe it in. Float through it. Let it carry you to sleep. Let's take a quiet journey tonight. Not across time exactly, but across patterns. Gentle rhythms written into the landscape and the clock. We're exploring something called evening tornado climatology, a sleepy term that simply means where and when do tornadoes tend to form? After the sun goes down. And more often than you might think, they do. If we softly scan the records, letting the numbers drift into view like stars appearing in a twilight sky, we find that many tornadoes don't happen at the peak of day, but after 6 p.m, sometimes long after. They form when the sun is low or already gone, when the sky begins to glow indigo, and the insects begin their nightly songs. The reasons aren't rushed. They're layered. All day long, the earth has been warming. The atmosphere has been gathering moisture, storing energy, building subtle contrasts between air masses. By evening, those ingredients often settle into balance, into just the right arrangement. The low-level jet strengthens after sunset, bringing moist southerly flow into the plains. Wind shear increases. The surface begins to cool, but mid-level air remains warm, creating just enough instability. And sometimes, the cap breaks. That gentle lid we spoke of in earlier chapters lifts with evening's calm, and storms begin to rise freely. These twilight tornadoes don't feel sudden to the sky. They've been slowly building all day, but to those watching, they often feel like they arrive in silence, under moonlight, or just after the last hint of sunset fades. If we look at the geography, a map not in bright colors, but in slow, dim contours, we find that the central US holds the greatest share. Places like Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Mississippi, and Alabama. The southern plains and deep south, where moisture lingers longer and warm evenings stretch well into the night. Some studies suggest that up to 1/3 of all tornadoes occur after 6 p.m. In certain regions and seasons, the number is even higher. In spring and early summer, when the sun sets late and the air holds its warmth, nighttime tornadoes become more common. And though we often associate tornadoes with the drama of afternoon skies, some of the strongest have touched down in darkness, under stars, under silence. Tonight, we are not chasing them. We're just tracing the patterns, letting the data drift through us like a slow stream. Climatology is just a way of listening to the sky's long memory, to the patterns it repeats. And those patterns tell us that the evening is not an ending. It is a shift, a new stage in the day's atmosphere, a time when storms continue to breathe. So, as you rest now, imagine a map, not flat and sharp, but soft and glowing. Imagine gentle dots appearing after sunset, one by one, where the sky has quietly spun. And know that even the most powerful storms follow rhythms. Even tornadoes arrive in patterns. And the evening holds many of them. When the sun sets, the earth begins to sigh. Not loudly, not quickly, but softly, slowly, like a warm stone releasing the memory of the day. This is radiative cooling, a quiet exchange between earth and sky. And tonight, we float through it gently. All day long, the sun has poured energy onto the land. The soil, the rooftops, the pavement, the trees, each has gathered warmth, absorbing the sun's silent light and holding it close. But at night, there is no more incoming warmth, only release. The surface begins to emit infrared radiation, a kind of invisible heat that travels upward from ground to atmosphere, like steam lifting from a cup of tea. It's not felt as wind or weather, it's felt as coolness. The earth gives back what it received, bit by bit, like a lullaby humming itself into stillness. This process shapes the night in more ways than we notice. The air near the ground cools faster than the air above. And so, a temperature inversion can form, a thin layer of cooler air resting below warmer air. This inversion, as we've explored before, acts like a lid, a quiet seal that holds the moisture and slows the stirring. It's why the air may feel heavy in the evening, why fog sometimes forms in valleys, why you might see dew on the grass before the stars are fully out. And beyond sensation, this cooling affects storms too. As the surface cools, the energy available for new convection often weakens, except when other forces step in, like the low-level jet, or lifting from outflow boundaries, or residual warmth just aloft. Sometimes this contrast, the surface cooling while mid-level warmth remains, can actually sharpen the instability. It helps the warm air trapped below rise more freely once the cap breaks. And so, even as the ground radiates its heat, storms may still grow, or they may begin to fade. The Earth's exhale influences the balance. A little more cooling, a little less lift, and the storm begins to soften, to scatter. But regardless of storm or calm, this nightly release is always there. In city streets and mountain meadows, in deserts and farmland, the land lets go and the atmosphere listens. Some nights it answers with clouds, other nights with silence, but always it receives. So let's lie back now. Let's feel the coolness rising from the ground, not as loss, but as rhythm, as nature's breath slowing down. The earth radiates at night because it is part of the cycle, because every warmth has its rest. Let yourself cool too. Let the heat of your day lift upward. Let the stillness come in waves. The sky is wide, the night is gentle, and the earth is breathing out. There's a certain stillness that settles over the land after midnight. Lights flicker off, one by one. Windows darken. The world sinks into quiet, and most of us drift into dreams. But above that hush, far beyond the rooftops and lamplight, the sky is sometimes still at work. Because not all tornadoes come during daylight. Some wait. They form long after the last news report, long after the storm warnings have faded into static, long after we've tucked ourselves beneath blankets and closed our eyes. These are nocturnal tornadoes, the silent monsters of midnight. Not louder or faster, but more hidden, more unexpected. Tonight, we'll walk softly through their story. During the day, storms form with heat and motion. Sunlight fuels the lift, surface warmth rises, and the sky responds. But at night, a different kind of energy takes over, one built not on sunlight, but on structure. By midnight, the low-level jet is often strong and steady. Winds flow fast just above the ground, while the surface cools and calms. This creates shear, that gentle difference in wind speed and direction with height. And it allows rotation to stretch upward, like a ribbon turning in slow air. Meanwhile, the atmosphere is smoother. With fewer surface currents, air moves more freely in layers. Storms that are already spinning may spin more efficiently. They organize, they deepen, and some produce tornadoes. Radar sees them, but from the ground, they arrive in shadow. You may not see the funnel, just the low base of a thunderstorm against the dim light of the moon. You may not hear much, just wind shifting, a sudden hush, a feeling of pressure, a strange breath in the air. These tornadoes don't roar in like the midday kind. They slip through small towns and fields quietly. And it's this quiet that makes them mysterious. Many of the strongest tornadoes on record have formed after dark. EF4s and EF5s, long track storms that travel far while most of the world is asleep. But tonight, we don't lean into fear. We walk gently alongside the science. We remind ourselves that the atmosphere, even in its fiercest moments, moves according to rhythm and reason. And these nighttime storms are not spiteful. They are simply the result of conditions continuing after sunset. Not all midnight storms produce tornadoes. Many just rumble through with rain and lightning. But when the ingredients are right, when shear increases, when instability lingers, when boundaries interact, a tornado may form. So, if you ever lie awake and hear thunder in the distance, know that the sky is simply continuing its work, turning, balancing, breathing. And if you sleep through it, that's okay too, because the science doesn't need to alarm. It only needs to be known, held gently, like a story passed down in a whisper. Let's rest now, with respect for these quiet spirals, and trust in the sky's unfolding. Not all things loud are strong. Not all things dark are dangerous. But some things, like tornadoes after midnight, are simply quiet and real. There's a softness in the air that's easy to miss, but easy to feel. It's warm, it's gentle, and it's full of quiet potential. Tonight, we float through one of the most important and most overlooked ingredients in storm formation: moisture-rich air. It often comes from the south, lifted slowly from the Gulf of Mexico, drawn northward by low-level winds, carried like a warm tide through the lower atmosphere. You can't always see it, but you can sense it. That thick, velvet heaviness that wraps around your skin, the kind that fogs windows, softens hair, and makes every breath feel just a little fuller. This air is rich in water vapor, the invisible fuel that helps clouds rise, storms grow, and tornadoes form. Moisture doesn't just add humidity, it adds energy. When warm, moist air rises into cooler layers above, the water vapor condenses into cloud droplets, and when it condenses, it releases heat, latent heat, into the surrounding air. This heat makes the rising air even warmer, helping it rise farther, faster, and with more strength. This is how clouds build towers, how storms gain momentum, all from the quiet presence of moisture moving patiently across the land. In the evening, this moisture remains. Unlike heat, which fades quickly after sunset, moisture lingers. Without the sun to stir it, the moist air near the surface rests. It thickens, pools, becomes part of the night. And if the atmosphere above is ready, cool, dry, and willing, the contrast can create lift. Not dramatic, but enough. You might not see the change, but you might feel a shift in the breeze, a rising softness, a subtle draw. This is where storms find their breath. Moisture-rich air helps fuel evening spirals. It provides the warmth needed for lift, the condensation needed for clouds, and the energy needed for rotation. And it doesn't shout. It whispers. It rests just above the grass, invisible, waiting for the right pressure drop, the right breeze, the right boundary to nudge it upward. When you walk through a warm evening and feel the air heavy and damp, you're walking through potential. And when that air begins to rise, the sky begins to right. Not always a storm, not always a spin, but always a change. So tonight, we drift in that moisture. We breathe it in, like warm milk in a cup. We let it wrap around our thoughts and remind us that softness holds power too. Gulf air, low-level warmth, moisture like velvet. This is how the sky begins. The day has ended, the sun has set, and most of the world is winding down. But above us, the atmosphere is still writing its quiet messages. Tonight, we watch as one of those messages drifts in from the west, a cold front arriving softly in the dark. It doesn't knock or shout. It doesn't rush in like thunder. It simply moves, deliberate, calm, certain, like a cool breeze entering a warm room. Cold fronts are boundaries, edges between air masses, and when they come after sunset, they carry with them both memory and change. Behind the front, cooler, drier air settles like a folded blanket. Ahead of it, warm and humid air lingers, moisture-rich, buoyant, waiting. And when those two meet, something gentle but powerful happens. The cold air, being heavier, slips underneath the warmer air, lifting it slowly, layer by layer, into the sky above. This lifting is key. It doesn't force the air upward violently. It nudges, it encourages, and in that slow upward push, clouds begin to form. At night, this process becomes even more graceful. There's no daytime turbulence, no uneven heating to stir the layers, just the smooth glide of one air mass under another, like a sheet of silk sliding beneath another. You may feel it in the wind, a soft shift in direction, a cooler breath against your cheek, a sudden hush just before the rain. Meteorologists track these fronts with care, watching temperature drops, wind changes, pressure dips. But here, in our quiet corner, we simply notice what the sky is telling us. That change is arriving, that something cooler is coming in to balance the warmth. Cold fronts after sunset can spark new storms, not always intense. But sometimes, if the moisture is deep and the instability still lingers, those storms can turn strong. They may rise quickly along the frontal edge, forming lines or isolated towers. And if wind shear is present, those towers may begin to spin. Some of the most notable evening tornadoes have begun this way, lifted gently by the midnight edge of a front that no one could see, but everyone could feel. Still, we do not worry. We observe. We let the front pass through our imagination, like a cool current through a warm lake. We listen to the sky's transition, as clouds begin to stretch and sigh. Sometimes you may hear the rain begin just as the front arrives. Not heavy, just a tap, a rustle in the leaves, the sound of change. The front keeps moving, always eastward, always onward, leaving behind clearer air, steadier skies, and a quieter night. So, let's rest in the meeting point, where warm air lifts and cool air slides in, where balance begins. The cold front isn't here to disturb your sleep. It's here to remind us that change can be smooth, that even contrasts can coexist. A midnight messenger, soft-spoken, always passing through. The name is Long Quasi-Linear Convective System, but tonight we'll simply call it a line, a sleepy, glowing line in the sky, stretching for miles, moving slowly through the dark, and carrying with it a quiet kind of power. QLCS systems are not the towering supercells we often imagine. They're not lonely, spinning giants. They're connected, linked together like beads on a nighttime string. These stormlines usually form along cold fronts or boundaries, where warm, moist air is lifted into a cooler sky. As each cell rises, it leans into the next. They become part of something bigger, something longer. From above, radar shows a glowing ribbon, undulating as it drifts forward, eastward, usually into the heart of night. You may hear the rain before you see the clouds. Soft, steady pattering that builds, a whispering wall of wind. But within that gentle rhythm, there can be moments of surprise. Because sometimes, along this line of storms, a curl forms, a subtle kink, a notch, a sudden swirl. These small-scale rotations, called mesovortices, can spin up quickly. They don't need the large rotation of a supercell. They're born from differences in wind along the line itself. And when the ingredients are just right, a tornado may briefly touch down. Short-lived, often shallow, but sometimes strong enough to leave behind a path. All from what looks like a sleepy rain band in the night. QLCS tornadoes are quiet. They don't often roar. They emerge and vanish with little warning. But they remind us that not all fury announces itself loudly. Still, we don't fear them. We understand them. We float beside the line, feeling its structure, its unity, its soft pulse of energy. These systems tend to move quickly. They sweep through like a long exhale. Behind them, cooler air, clearing skies, silence. And while they pass, they bring a kind of lullaby. Rain on the windows, thunder low and rolling, winds tapping at the corners of the house. It's not a storm to chase. It's a storm to listen to. Let it lull you. Let it stretch across your thoughts, like the line stretches across the land. And if somewhere along it, a swirl begins, just know it's part of the pattern, the quiet fury, the connected motion, the QLCS passing through the night. No need to follow, no need to flee, only observe, only rest. The line will move on, and you can stay still. As twilight deepens and stars begin to blink overhead, the countryside cools, fields, forests, and quiet lakes, all exhaling the heat of the day. But in cities, something different happens. The warmth lingers, streets stay warm. Buildings hold the day's heat like stone ovens, releasing it slowly, long after sunset has passed. This is known as the urban heat island effect, a soft but steady thermal presence that makes cities warmer at night than the land around them. And while it may not seem like much, this leftover warmth can shape the sky above, gently shifting the timing and structure of storms, even tornadoes. Let's float above a quiet city after dark. The roads are quiet. Windows flicker blue with television light. But from above, in the atmosphere, The city glows warmer than the farms and woods beyond. Concrete, brick, steel, all of it holds warmth, stored during daylight and now released slowly into the night. The air above the city stays just a little more buoyant, a little more willing to rise. This extra warmth can add lift, encouraging clouds to build or storms to maintain strength as they pass over or near urban areas. And in some cases, this heat contrast at the city's edge can subtly enhance convergence, nudging air masses together, creating just enough lift to initiate or sustain storm cells. Not every city storm turns severe. Most just drift along the skyline, casting shadows in the glow of distant lights. But in places where moisture lingers and the upper winds support it, urban heat can be just enough to tilt the balance. It's not that cities cause tornadoes, but they can, at times, contribute to their timing, allowing an otherwise weakening storm to hold on, or even reorganize. And since urban areas are filled with structure, with buildings, glass, traffic, lives, even a brief tornado here has deeper impact. Yet, at night, the city feels calm. The breeze slides gently between buildings. The pavement still radiates its quiet heat. And above it all, the atmosphere listens. Radar may pick up a stronger updraft just where city meets rural. Or a slight boundary may form, created by the contrast of warm and cool surfaces. These things happen slowly, subtly, but they remind us that human spaces are not separate from weather. They are part of the pattern, part of the atmosphere's fabric. So, as you rest tonight, perhaps in a city tucked beneath its own warmth, know that the sky above you is responding to towers and trees, to lakes and roads, to how we build and how we breathe. Urban heat is not loud, but it is present. A quiet nudge that sometimes gives storms just enough to continue. A small gesture, a long shadow, a warm handprint on the sky. At night, when the wind hushes and lights go low, we return to our safe places. We wrap ourselves in quiet. We close the door to the world and drift into rest. But while we sleep, the sky continues its patterns. And sometimes, those patterns include danger. This is where others remain awake, watching the weather as we dream. Meteorologists, forecasters, radar operators, and warning coordinators, soft-spoken guardians of the night. Their eyes are not on the stars, they're on the radar screen, watching every echo, every signature, especially during stormy seasons when warm, moist air remains after dark, and the low-level jet begins to whisper. They know that the risk doesn't vanish with the sun. Nocturnal tornadoes can form in these quiet hours, and when they do, warnings must be issued, even if most of the world is fast asleep. They don't shout, they don't panic. They send out clear, deliberate messages through radio, TV, cell towers, and weather alert systems. But sometimes, those messages go unheard. Phones silenced, radios turned off, sirens muted by distance and dreams. This is the risk of night, not just the storm, but the sleeping silence that surrounds it. That's why meteorologists work so carefully. They don't just monitor the storm, they consider the clock. They consider the people tucked in beds, the children sleeping upstairs, the towns with no sirens, and still they watch. They look for the classic signs, a hook echo, a debris ball, a rotation signature strong enough to break through the noise. Then comes the warning, short, firm, timely. Some nights, that warning wakes someone. A mother who checks her phone, a truck driver parked beneath a highway overpass, a night nurse watching the radar between rounds. Other nights, the warning may pass quietly, the storm lifting before it reaches town, the funnel never touching down. But every warning is worth it. Every alert sent into the dark is a promise that someone is watching while you rest. And for those who stay up through the night in weather offices, lit only by monitors and coffee, there is purpose in the quiet. Even if no one hears the alert, it matters that it was spoken. So tonight, as you lie in bed, beneath a soft blanket and a wide sky, know this: someone is awake, listening to the wind, reading the air, watching the lines form on the radar like threads in a story. And if the sky stirs, if the spiral begins, they will speak. And even if you don't hear it, you are part of the pattern they protect. Sleep peacefully. The storm may come, but the watchers are already there. In the stillness of night, when the breeze has settled and the streets grow quiet, something curious begins to happen. Sound travels farther. A distant train seems closer. A barking dog echoes longer. And thunder, if there's a storm nearby, rolls more deeply, more clearly, across neighborhoods and fields. Tonight, we'll ride those sounds as they drift across the cooling earth, carried by the quiet clarity of the nighttime sky. During the day, the atmosphere is filled with invisible motion. The sun warms the surface, and warm air rises, mixing the layers above. This turbulence scatters sound, bending it upward, dissipating it more quickly. But at night, the story changes. As the sun sets, the ground cools, and the air near the surface becomes cooler than the air above. This creates a temperature inversion, a calm, stable layer of atmosphere where warm air rests atop the cooler air below. And in this smooth, undisturbed environment, sound waves no longer scatter. Instead, they bend downward, refracted by the inversion, hugging the earth more closely and traveling farther than before. It's why sirens seem to drift for miles on a clear night, why a single clap of thunder can stretch across entire counties, echoing softly as it goes. It's also why storms may feel nearer than they are. You may be safe under clear skies and still hear thunder from a distant supercell rolling over another town. And if rain does fall where you are, each drop seems louder on rooftops and leaves, because the world has quieted. The usual hum of day has faded, leaving room for every small sound to bloom. The night becomes an amplifier, not to startle, but to carry, to stretch sound across time and space. Some nights, you may hear the low whir of a siren in the distance, its rise and fall rhythmic, steady, designed to awaken. But from bed, it may come as something gentler, a rising tone followed by silence, like a wind brushing across a memory. Even conversations between neighbors can float from porch to porch, long after sunset, as if the air itself is listening. This quiet enhancement of sound has a name: nocturnal acoustic propagation. But here, in our sleep-soaked story, we'll simply call it a lullaby in layers. So, as you rest tonight, let the distant sounds be company. Let them pass gently across your thoughts, like clouds across the moon. That thunder you hear? It may be dozens of miles away, but the sky has chosen to carry it to you, softened, slowed, as a song of presence. In the dark, everything becomes just a little more connected, through sound, through stillness, through sky. Long after we've turned out our lights and closed our eyes, something high above and far away remains awake. The radar keeps watch. Its beams sweep the sky in slow circles, tracing the quiet curves of clouds, the rise of towers, the hidden spirals of rotation. It's not a blinking red light, or a glowing orb perched on a mountain. It's a gentle pulse, microwaves, invisible and quiet, sent from tall radar domes, curved like sleeping moons on the horizon. Tonight, we drift alongside these radar eyes, eyes that never close. Radar works by sending out a signal and waiting for the echo. If it bounces off a raindrop, a hailstone, or a swirl of wind, that echo comes back, and the system listens. By timing the return and measuring the signal's shift, the radar paints a picture of the sky, not in colours we can see, but in movement, shape, and intensity. And while most of the world sleeps, this picture continues to refresh, minute by minute, beam by beam. Every storm has a structure, every tornado has a signature, and the radar can find them, even in the darkest hours. It looks for rotation, for inbound and outbound winds side by side. It searches for hook echoes, for debris balls, for patterns too subtle for human eyes, but not for this machine. And when it sees something spinning, something strong, it speaks. Not in voice, but in data. It sends a signal to meteorologists, who in turn send messages to us. Warnings, advisories, updates gently flashing on screens in kitchens and phones and bedside tables. All made possible because the radar never rests. At night, its job becomes even more important. There are no cloud shadows to observe, no visual confirmation from spotters, only echoes, only patterns of return. It scans layer by layer, from the lowest tilt, near the ground, to the higher tilts, where anvil clouds stretch and breathe. Each loop is a circle of care, each sweep a quiet act of protection. You might sleep through the storm. You might never know that far overhead, the radar caught a pulse of rotation and whispered it to the watchers on the ground. This is how science keeps watch at night, not with noise, but with knowing. So, as you lie back now, beneath the weightless dome of the atmosphere, know that someone, somewhere, is watching the beams, and the beams are watching the sky. Let them sweep gently above you. Let them trace the clouds you cannot see. Let them be the silent eyes of night. Radar never blinks. Radar never sleeps. And you can rest. Beneath our feet, quiet and unnoticed, the soil holds stories, not just of seeds and stones, but of warmth. Tonight, we rest among fields and farmlands, and learn how even the damp earth plays a part in shaping the skies after dark. During the day, sunlight pours down freely, warming roads, rooftops, grasses, and grain. But the warmth doesn't just stay at the surface. It moves downward, soaking into the top layers of soil, where moisture, like a sponge, holds on to the heat. Moist soil behaves differently than dry soil. It has a higher heat capacity, meaning it can absorb more warmth without letting the temperature rise too quickly. It's steadier, more patient, and that patience pays off at night. When the sun sets and dry soil cools quickly, moist soil does not. It releases its warmth slowly, like a thermal exhale, feeding a thin layer of warmth back into the air just above. It's a soft gift to the night. This gentle release keeps surface temperatures just a little warmer, especially on humid evenings when the air is already thick with moisture. And in weather, even a small difference can shape a larger story. That lingering warmth helps maintain instability, one of the key ingredients for storms. It keeps the air buoyant. It allows rising currents to continue, even after twilight fades. In agricultural regions, this effect becomes especially noticeable. After a long day of sun and irrigation, the fields don't simply cool. They glow. They radiate stored heat back into the lower atmosphere, sustaining the very conditions that could give a storm its second wind. And it's not just the warmth, Moist soil also keeps humidity near the ground high. Evaporation continues gently into the night, adding more water vapor to the air just when the sky is deciding whether to build or to rest. It's a delicate balance, a moist field here, a dry patch there, a shifting breeze across one and not the other. Meteorologists track soil moisture carefully in spring and summer, especially when forecasting evening storms. Because where the ground is damp, the air is less likely to cool too fast. And where the warmth lingers, storms can hold on just a little longer. But tonight, we're not forecasting, we're simply listening to the land beneath us, to the warmth that rises gently in the dark. It's not sudden, it's not loud. It's the earth remembering the sun and sharing that memory slowly in radiant whispers. So let your thoughts lie back against that warm ground. Let your breath slow. Let the moisture in the soil meet the softness in the sky. The warmth is still here, held close, held low, and released with care. High above us, where the sky becomes quiet and still, a sculptor is at work. Not one with tools or chisels, but with temperature, with invisible layers, with heat that floats. Tonight, we drift upward, gently, into the presence of warm air aloft. This warm layer isn't something we can see. It doesn't flash or swirl. It doesn't announce itself, but it plays one of the most important roles in storm development. It's called a cap, a warm air layer that sits above cooler air near the surface. And like a lid on a simmering pot, it holds things down for a while. All day, sunlight warms the ground. Air near the surface rises, moist, eager, full of energy. But when it reaches the cap, it stops. The warm layer above is too buoyant, too stable. It pushes gently back. The storm cannot yet grow. And so, energy begins to build. Not in chaos, but in waiting, in gathering. This is why meteorologists say the cap is protective and dangerous at once. It prevents storms until it doesn't. It holds things still until the atmosphere changes just enough to break it. When the cap does break, perhaps through surface heating, or lifting from a cold front, or cooling above from a passing disturbance, all that energy below is suddenly free. The lid lifts, and storms can rise rapidly, tall, strong, often organized. But even then, the warm air aloft still shapes what follows. It sculpts, it defines the ceiling. Storms stretch upward, but they bend and tilt with the profile of temperature above. It is the cap that decides how wide a storm can spread, how quickly it can grow, how neatly it separates rain from inflow. And on some nights, the cap never breaks. Clouds bubble and try, but flatten at the top, unable to push through. It is the silent sculptor's decision, and we, watching from below, see only the results: tall towers or quiet skies, anvil clouds or smooth blue. But tonight, we float inside that warm layer. We feel its quiet authority, its invisible hand shaping what can rise and what must wait. The cap isn't cruel, it's patient. It's part of the sky's balance. And when it lifts, the transformation is breathtaking. So let us rest within this structure, within the smooth, warm air aloft, and feel the quiet pressure that holds and shapes the night. Storms may come, or they may not, but either way, the sculptor is always working. Most storms move forward, riding winds aloft that carry them eastward or north, pulling their rain and rumble across the land like a slow-moving wave. But some storms don't behave that way. Some storms grow backwards. They backbuild, creating new cells not ahead of the old, but behind them, as if the sky is painting in reverse. Tonight, we float through this quiet mystery. We follow the rhythm of back-building storms and feel how the night fills with echoes of itself, again and again. The setup begins when there's moisture, plenty of it, flowing low across the landscape, usually from the south, carried by warm winds hugging the surface. If the upper winds, those higher in the sky, are gentle, or pointed slightly away from the low-level flow, a storm's main motion may stall. Rain begins to fall. A cell forms, but instead of racing away, it sits, and something curious happens. Behind it, in the area just upstream, where inflow continues, another storm cell forms, then another, then another. Each new burst of energy rises just behind the last, feeding on the same supply of warm, moist air. Like footsteps retraced in the dark, the storms regenerate along the same path. Not chaotic, not urgent, but persistent. The line of storms seems to hover, renewing itself again and again in place. This is backbuilding, a process that turns short-lived storms into long, slow events, often producing extended rainfall or even training thunderstorms, where one cell follows another along the same track for hours. In daylight, these storms may be dramatic, causing flash flooding as they dump heavy rain over the same fields and roads. But at night, they feel different. Their thunder is spaced and slow. Their lightning comes like breath, a rhythm of flicker and pause. And the sky, instead of sweeping the storm away, cradles it, letting it build again and again in calm persistence. If you could hover above the land, you'd see a glowing line, a spine of storms forming at the back, stretching slowly forward but never straying far. Meteorologists watch these patterns closely because backbuilding can lead to long-lived events. Not always severe, but steady, enduring, and for tornadoes, it means that favorable conditions can stay in one place for longer than expected. But here, in our resting minds, we simply float behind the storm, watching new life rise in its shadow, not in haste, not in fear, just in repetition, just in quiet. Backbuilding is the atmosphere reminding us that time doesn't always move forward, that sometimes motion comes from behind. So let your thoughts drift in reverse, gently retracing, resting in rhythm. The night is full of echoes, and the sky keeps building. The sun has slipped below the horizon. Its golden light has faded into lavender, but the warmth, the heat of the day remains. Sometimes, even long after sunset, the air stays warm, still, heavy, and filled with quiet potential. Tonight, we bask in that lingering heat and feel what it means for the sky above. All day, the sun pours energy into the land. The surface, fields, sidewalks, rooftops absorbs it, holding it tightly until the sun is gone. And then, it begins to let go, but not all at once. In places where the ground is moist, or the air is calm, or the evening clouds hold in the warmth like a blanket, the cooling slows, and the warmth lingers. The breeze may feel soft against your skin, but the air still holds the shape of the sun, as if the sky remembers the day and isn't quite ready to let it go. Meteorologists call this residual heat, a subtle continuation of daytime warmth that can last for hours after dusk. And this lingering heat matters. It means that the surface remains warm, keeping the atmosphere unstable, even after darkness falls. It means that storms, if they form, can still rise tall, still feed from the warm air below. It means that tornadoes, normally associated with afternoon energy, can find enough lift, enough moisture, enough support to grow long after bedtime. But not every warm night becomes stormy. Sometimes the heat is simply there to remind us how the earth breathes in slow release. It warms the pavement beneath your feet long after the sun is gone. It softens the night breeze into something velvety and rich. It holds the crickets in their rhythm and carries the scent of honeysuckle or rain-soaked soil just a little longer. And high above, the air notices. The boundary between warm and cool becomes a quiet stage where clouds may rise or may not, because lingering heat doesn't force a storm. It simply allows for the possibility, and possibility is what makes the night feel alive. So, as you rest, imagine that soft warmth wrapping around you, the gift of a sun that has already gone but not fully forgotten. Let it soothe you, let it slow your breath. The heat may linger, but soon it too will drift upward and the night will cool. But for now, you are warm and the sky is waiting. As the last light fades into soft indigo and the day slips into stillness, a quiet breath may move across the land, not from a current storm, but from one that came before. This is the gust front, a gentle boundary, born from the breath of a fading thunderstorm, moving softly now through twilight. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it arrives like a sigh, spreading out along the ground as cooler air flows outward from where rain once fell. Tonight, we follow this breeze, not the kind stirred by fans or flags, but one that hugs the land, invisible except for what it stirs. You might feel it before you see it, a sudden shift in the air, a cooling touch to the skin, a rustle of trees that weren't moving before. This air is cooler because it fell from high within a storm, dragged down by rain-cooled downdrafts, then spilling outward across the surface in all directions. And as it spreads, it becomes a boundary, a meeting line between the cooler air behind and the warmer, often moist air ahead. Where those two touch, magic can happen. The warm air, lighter and eager to rise, meets the advancing cool layer and is nudged gently upward, not violently, just enough. Enough to spark a small tower of cloud, enough to awaken a slow building updraft, enough to paint a new storm on the horizon. This is how gust fronts can lead to new storms, even long after the original storm has disappeared. And in the evening hours, when the atmosphere is smoothing out and the sunlight no longer stirs wild thermals, this lift becomes more refined, more focused, more graceful. You might look west and see the sky grow darker, only to notice a new cloud swelling behind a breeze. The air cools, the cicadas pause, a tower forms, framed by the soft blue of evening. The gust front is the artist, the air is the brush, and the sky becomes canvas again. Meteorologists often track gust fronts on radar, narrow, faint lines moving slowly across the landscape, preceding new convection. They aren't storms themselves, but they carry the memory of one and the potential for another. Sometimes these boundaries intersect, gust fronts meeting outflow boundaries, twisting slightly as they cross. These intersections are even more likely to produce storms, especially in the lingering warmth of twilight. But not all gust fronts lead to more weather. Many simply pass, a final gift of coolness from a storm that has already moved on. A reminder, on the skin and in the breeze, that the sky is still in motion. So let's follow that breeze a while, not with haste, but with curiosity. Let it carry us across quiet fields, along fences, over ponds, as we trace the boundary between what was and what might still be. The gust front doesn't roar, it whispers, and in the hush of evening, that whisper can shape clouds, a slow, drifting brush of air, turning the twilight sky. Some storms live and die within the hour. A single burst of rain, a flicker of lightning, and then silence. But others breathe differently. They cycle. They rise, release, fade, then rise again, changing form as the world sleeps, like dreams looping through different chapters. Tonight, we follow these cycling storms, watching their slow, layered evolution through the quiet hours. These aren't chaotic storms. They are structured, often supercells, with organized cores and rotating hearts, capable of sustaining themselves long after sunset. At their center is the mesocyclone, a broad, spinning updraft that feeds the storm and guides its rhythm. But even a strong mesocyclone can grow tired. As the storm matures, its internal dynamics shift. The rain-cooled air spreads outward, eventually undercutting the updraft, choking the storm's inflow. The rotation may begin to weaken. The base may lift. The tornado, if there was one, dissipates. It seems the storm is ending, but it's not over, because just downwind, or just adjacent to the weakening core, a new updraft may take shape. Fed by lingering moisture, lifted by outflow boundaries, and sculpted by shear, this fresh updraft becomes the storm's next breath, and the process begins again. A new mesocyclone forms, a new cycle of life begins, sometimes even producing another tornado as the storm renews itself. This process can repeat for hours, especially in the calm of night, when the upper winds are steady and the ingredients remain in place. It's not a sprint, it's a rhythm. The storm doesn't age in one direction. It turns in loops, growing, shedding, regrowing. From a distance, the storm may seem to hover. Its anvils stretch across county lines. Its lightning pulses rise and fall. Its core shifts slowly from west to east, but always with structure. Some call this cycling, others storm regeneration. But tonight, we simply call it a journey. Watching a storm that renews itself is like watching breath become visible, a rhythm of rise and rest. Meteorologists track these evolutions carefully, looking for signs of occlusion, monitoring how old circulations fade and new ones form nearby. Because a cycling storm can surprise, producing one tornado, then another, each one distinct, each born from the same parent storm, but through a different motion. And all the while, the night remains quiet below. Homes are still, fields are dark, only the sky continues its spiral. So, as you drift into your own cycles of rest, know that some storms are doing the same, releasing, rebuilding, and carrying their quiet rhythm through the hours that follow. There's no need to watch them. The radar will. The atmosphere will. You can simply listen. Feel the breath of a storm that isn't finished, but isn't hurried. A cycling storm is like a lullaby played on repeat, familiar, powerful, and drifting just overhead. Not all waves live in the ocean. Some move through the sky, invisible to most eyes, but no less real, no less graceful. Tonight, we drift with the quiet dance of gravity waves, those subtle ripples that move through the air itself, lifting, falling, stirring clouds, and sometimes awakening storms. Gravity waves form when air is pushed upward by a mountain, a frontal boundary, or the outflow from a dying storm, and then begins to oscillate. The atmosphere, always seeking balance, responds with motion. A rise, then a fall, a lift, then a dip. Just like tossing a stone into a pond, the initial disturbance sends waves outward, not across water, but across the layers of air. These waves are usually gentle. They move slowly through the sky, sometimes only a few miles across, sometimes stretching farther. You can't always see them, but when the air is just moist enough, clouds begin to form along the crests, those upward arcs where lift occurs. And so, the sky may become striped, with lines of cloud alternating with clear space, like folds in a blanket or waves on a quiet lake. We call these undulatus clouds, the visible expression of gravity waves. They don't thunder, they don't spin, they simply rise and fall, carrying energy quietly. But this gentle energy has influence. When gravity waves pass through an unstable atmosphere, especially in the evening when the surface has cooled and the mid-levels remain warm, they can help trigger new convection. Each upward push lifts parcels of warm, moist air just enough to condense, to rise more freely, to become a towering cloud. This is how some nighttime storms are born, not from a front, not from heat, but from the breath of waves. And sometimes, if a storm is already present, gravity waves can help organize it, shaping the updrafts, creating symmetry, even influencing where new cells form along a line. From a distance, you might see the clouds ripple across the moonlit sky, moving slowly, changing shape, but always in rhythm. They're easy to miss, easy to forget, but they are there, subtle, patient sculptors of the night. Meteorologists study gravity waves through satellite loops, watching how cloud tops pulse, how anvils ripple, how storms flicker in sync. These patterns speak softly, but they speak truly. So tonight, we float with them, not hurried, not needing to arrive anywhere, just moving with the rise, resting in the fall, letting the sky ripple through us. Gravity waves don't stir the ground, they stir the sky, and sometimes they stir the clouds to life. We end our journey not with a bang, but with a breath. Tonight, we slip quietly into the mesoscale, a hidden layer of the atmosphere's puzzle, where small things make big differences. The mesoscale isn't a place, it's a scale of motion, larger than a gust of wind, but smaller than a jet stream. It's where boundaries meet, where humidity pools, where low-level jets curve, where outflows glide like whispers. And while it may sound technical, the mesoscale is filled with magic. This is where storms are sculpted, not just formed, but refined, influenced by details too small to show up on large forecasts, but powerful enough to change everything. A shift in wind direction just a few 100 feet up. A pocket of moist soil releasing warm air into the night. An old gust front returning with new energy. These things don't grab headlines, but they guide the sky's most elegant dances. At night, the mesoscale becomes even more influential. Without the broad strokes of daytime heating, these smaller influences take center stage. A subtle boundary drifts across a field, and a storm blooms just along its edge. A gravity wave passes through moist air, and clouds pulse upward in response. A mesilo, a tiny low-pressure area, circulates beneath a thunderstorm, shaping rotation quietly. It's here, in the mesoscale, that nocturnal tornadoes often take form, not from towering fronts, but from soft intersections, from the way two layers of airbrush past each other. Meteorologists call it mesoscale analysis, but here we call it something gentler, a quiet choreography of wind, heat, moisture, and time. Imagine it like a tapestry, woven from invisible threads, air rising, air sinking, air turning just slightly as it meets another current. Each thread matters. Each fold in the fabric creates shape, and from that shape, storms breathe. Not all mesoscale interactions create storms. Some only whisper. But tonight, we listen to them all, the low hum of energy shifting, the slow draw of wind over hills, the pooling of moisture where cool air once passed. The mesoscale is delicate, fleeting, but real, and like all small things, it deserves to be seen, to be felt. As we close our eyes, we imagine those invisible rivers in the sky, crossing, curling, sliding softly beneath the stars. This is the final chapter of the night, not an ending, but a pause, a resting place between knowing and not knowing, between motion and stillness. The mesoscale holds the space where wonder lives. So, sleep easy now. The magic continues, quietly shaping the sky above you. And as we reach the end of our exploration, I hope this journey through twilight tornadoes has brought you a soft sense of wonder and a calm respect for the quiet power of the atmosphere. We've drifted through dusky skies, followed gentle boundaries, and listened to the slow breath of storms that form after dark. Not to alarm, but to understand and to rest in that understanding. If these calming weather journeys bring you peace, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps other gentle souls find their way here. But no pressure at all. Your presence is enough. Just knowing you've shared this sky with me means the world. Now, you can let it all go. There's nothing left to hold, no need to think, just to breathe. Let the rhythms of the sky lull you to sleep, like distant thunder rolling over hills. You can rest now. Feel free to drift into dreams. Snuggle in and let the clouds pass gently overhead. Good night, peaceful dreams, calm skies to you.